Hello and welcome to NXTGEN Racing, the home of clean and fair sim racing for all.
Good evening everybody and welcome back to NXTGEN Racing live on Facebook and live on YouTube. We're here at the Glen, the Watkins Glen International, for what is round 2 of the NXTGEN Racing GT3 League Season 7. We've had the first round of the season last week and only the second round this week, and plenty more rounds to go. Plenty of established championship leaders or championship breakthroughs in all of the categories, of which we'll go through those points very shortly. But a little bit of an introduction to the track and the series. So first of all, the track. We're here at the Watkins Glen International. It is otherwise known as the Glen, and it is in the state of New York in the United States of America, just near the town of Dix. And the track was built in 1956, and it's mostly known in the GT3 world for hosting the 6 Hours of the Glen, which is as part of the IMSA series. So very nostalgic feels there when it comes to racing at this track in that respect. And the only difference here is we'll be missing out the chicane on the back straight, so it's a very long straight running up to the top section of the track and the corner known as the outer loop, which is a very fast downhill sweeping corner, but we'll be reaching very high speeds, and some of the highest speeds we'll have of the season on that back straight. Very much looking forward to tonight. What we've got in store for you is 3 different sessions. We have a qualifying session coming up on the hour. That'll be a 20-minute session to decide the grid. Then we'll have a sprint race, from which the qualifying results decides the grid for that race, and that'll be a 20-minute race with no interruptions in the form of pit stops. We'll have a break after the sprint race, and then it will be the feature race, a 60-minute race where there will be pit stops. And of course, for the feature race, the grid will be decided for that race based on the sprint race results, but those results will be reversed, and each category, gold, silver and bronze in this series, will start in their groups. So a little bit of an introduction to the series now. Thursday night GT3 racing here at NXTGEN Racing, and this is the 7th season of that here. And our defending champion Benji McCluskey features in the thumbnail here. You mentioned a few moments ago, I mentioned the categories or classes gold, silver and bronze. Basically this series is catered and tailored for drivers of all abilities and skills. We have the gold category, which consists of drivers who are the top skilled drivers in the league, and you have the silver category, which is the middle tier of drivers, and then the lesser experienced drivers will go into the bronze category. Like I said, all skills are catered for in this series. No matter what your skill, you can get involved in this. And if you want to get involved in this, there's the pricing in the top right if you do want to sign up to the series, if you have an iRacing subscription. And also if you want to keep an eye on all of the leagues, including this one, that NXTGEN Racing have on offer, you can scan the QR code on the lower left of our screen there to gain access to NXTGEN Racing's Discord server, where you can get involved in the communities that NXTGEN Racing host, get involved with all the driver banter, and contact the admins, of course, if you want to get involved in the series. Or if you want to join as a spectator, get involved in the community, you can do that if you wish to. There are plenty of sponsors, partners and affiliates that help run the show here at NXTGEN Racing, and they include PowerMaxed, Mark Sykes Designs, Benji Sim Photos, Motorsport UK Esports Division, Sam Cases, Moser Racing, Joyce Design, Falcon and PC, and Doble Motorcycles. That is the series we are racing, but what about the tracks? This is our 7th season, and a couple of tracks have returned to the series from the legacy that has been hosting for 7 seasons now here at NXTGEN Racing. But we started off a week ago at the Misano World Circuit in East Italy. We've hopped over the Atlantic in just a week's turnaround for Watkins Glen No Chicane layout tonight in New York State. But only next week we'll be moving on to Canada, just north and west of us, and we'll be heading to the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Canada for what will be our first endurance round of the season. So those rounds there that are highlighted yellow and have a star next to them They are the endurance rounds, where it will be just a singular race on those nights, and they will be 2-hour races. And the grids for those races will be based on the championship standings reversed. So if you are first in the championship heading out of tonight in your category, you will start at the back of the grid in your category. After Montreal next week, in 2 weeks from today, we'll be heading back to the sprint and feature race format at Donington Park Grand Prix Circuit in Leicestershire, England. We'll be heading south and east to Zandvoort Circuit in the Netherlands, where it is the new and improved Zandvoort Circuit on iRacing, which is similar to that of the Formula 1 circuit we see today. We'll have a week off between rounds 5 and 6, but it will be another endurance round to introduce us to the second half of the season, and that will be hosted at the Bathurst Mount Panorama in Australia, and that will be, of course, our second endurance round of the season. Hosts the 12 hours of Bathurst every year, and that has been and gone already this year, but what a great 6th round that will be. Back in Europe for 2 rounds. Round 7 will be in the southern Portugal region of Algarve International, otherwise known as Portimao. The long and fast sweeping corners that are typically known for bike racing. Of course, Algarve became popular not just as a tourist destination, but also as a Formula 1 host destination during the COVID period. So it's a very good host for this championship here, being quite good with GT cars as well. Round 8 will be hosting our second British track of the season. It will be the Silverstone Circuit in Northamptonshire. We're back in Canada for round 9, and that will be hosted at the Canadian Tire Circuit, otherwise known as Mossport. And the final round, where else is it going to end? It's going to end at Le Mans in France, the Circuit de la Sarthe. The Circuit de 24 Hours of Le Mans will host the final round of the championship, but instead of being a 24 hours race, it will be a 2-hour race to end the season and crown our champions. And these are the cars they are racing in this season. Now, we mentioned their GT3 cars. Now, what manufacturers do they typically include? Well, there are 10 on offer in this championship, and the majority are raced with. And the latest recruit to that GT3 list on iRacing is the Acura NSX GT3. Which was released a good couple of months ago actually, but that is the newest recruit to this category of cars. The Audi R8 LMS Evo 2 as well is in this category, likewise with the BMW M4, the Chevrolet Corvette Z06, the Ferrari 296, the Ford Mustang, the Lamborghini Huracan, the McLaren 720S, the Mercedes AMG, and probably the more popular car in the field, the Porsche 911 GT3. So there we go. That is the majority of the housekeeping over and done with. But we are going to give you a little preview as to what the championship situation looks like coming into tonight, as we do have one round over and done with, of course. But we have plenty of more rounds to go. So we'll start off with the gold category here. And last week, it was a very close battle all night between Łukasz Sidor and Benjamin McCluskey, our defending gold champion. Them two were inseparable all night, and they broke through as the championship leaders. Of course, Łukasz getting through with the better results of the two, finishing second place in both the sprint race and the feature race. But not too far behind is the defending champion, looking to defend his crown. The two race winners from last week are third and fourth, both for CSA team, and they are Stephan Wessels, who qualified pole position and won the sprint race, but not such a good feature race meant a bad result in that race, and just losing out on the lead in the championship, but is not too far behind. Carl Oosthuizen is the outgoing silver champion, promoted to gold, starts off very well with a win in the feature race, and rewarding himself with fourth in the championship as a result. Mike Barber in 5th position, followed by Jesse Payne-Wilkins, Gavin Gardner in 7th, 8th is Jamie Dory, Jack Pittas in 9th, and Harry Langford in 10th position. The silver category, and the two winners of last week are top of the standings, and they are Jeffrey Kruger, the winner of the sprint race, and Matthew Cheverton, who won the feature race, is just 1 point behind in second place there. 10 points further down from Cheverton is Matthew Addy in 3rd position, with Phil McDougall in 4th place. Jochen Seeger in 5th place with his teammate Paul Williams in 6th. Mark Baker is 7th, followed by Jason Raff on his debut last week. Lewis Mason in 9th position, and Nigel Stock 2nd place last season, 10th heading out of round 1. In the bronze category, however, it was a breakthrough and dominant performance from Adam Wilson-Weir, who was contending for the bronze championship last season in the final round, and breaks through with a massive 16-point lead right from the word go, with maximum points scored last week. Pole position, both fastest laps, sprint race win and feature race win. So a brilliant championship lead already. Sami Ariba is in 2nd position, with a good result for him in the 2 races, followed by Simon Hunt on his debut, a nice 3rd in the championship following his debut. Robert Savage in 4th position, followed by Stephen de Gravelia and Gabriel Papaconstantino in 6th position. Michael Evangeli in 7th position, with Mark Sykes, Mr. Next Gen himself, in 8th position. And Gabriel Yilmaz 9th, followed by Andy Chell in 10th. We also have a Teams Championship in this to keep an eye on. Now, the Teams Championship works in that the points that the drivers score within their categories contribute to their Teams Championship tally. In the 1st position, Mission R, powered by Maud, a brand new team to the championship. Their rewards in terms of points from Adam Wilson-Weir and Łukasz Sidor gets them top of the championship, and of course George Stone also scoring points for them helps them out at the top of the standings there. CSA Team Woza consists of 2 race winners from last week in the gold category, and they are Stephan Wessels and Kyle Ostason, and of course the sprint race winner in the silver category, Jeffrey Kruger there, also propping the team up with good points. Aztec Racing with Ford Mustang in 3rd position, consisting of Papaconstantino, Yilmaz and Cheverton, whom won the feature racing silvers last week. 4th place Quatermass Motorsport 2, and 5th place Akuri Cole Doisseau in 5th position. And that's the championship situation heading into tonight. I'll remind you of that throughout the night, of course. But yeah, we've got a nice thrilling track for us tonight, as I mentioned. Watkins Glen, very fast circuit, a lot less technical than last week. There's only 11 corners on this circuit, officially, actually. With the chicane layout, there would have been more, but there's 11 official and 11 actual on this track here today that we're racing on. Plenty of very famous corners on this circuit that is of 3.38 miles in length and 5.44 in kilometres. Of course, Watkins Glen has hosted many a series in the past. It's probably a bit less prominent in the world of motorsport nowadays, but of course it still hosts IMSA year in, year out, hosting the 6 hours of the Glen every year in May, so that's not too far away. But it has hosted Formula 1 in the 70s. It continues to host the NASCAR Cup Series. It had a spell in IndyCar, of course, in the late 2000s, and kart and Champ Car hosted at Watkins Glen quite a lot in the early 2000s. But you can see here this very long straight here. I wasn't quick enough to get to the button to see how fast we were going along that back straight there, but we're going to see very, very high speeds from these drivers on that back straight, and plenty of dive bombs into that outer loop corner. There's plenty of overtaking opportunities here at Watkins Glen. Most corners you can try and overtake, and most corners are probably more probable for an overtake, so it's going to be plenty of excitement to watch in that sense. So as we're 1 minute away from qualifying, the quickest in practice at the moment paints a different picture to what we saw last week, actually. However, in the gold category, it is business as usual for Stephan Wessels at the top of the standings there by just 0.05 of a second from Harry Langford. But in the silver category, it's Alan McCain at the top of the standings. Now, Alan McCain, I like to refer... Well, I don't like to refer to him as this, but I hate referring to him as this, but he is one of the most unlucky drivers in Next Gen. Maybe I keep cursing him with that status, but yeah, I'm waiting for the day that Alan McCain gets himself a race win in category. But a good start to his night, being in first position there of the silvers. And in bronze category, it's Jonathan Berry at the top with a 43.2. In close contention with two other drivers, Stijn Weitens and Adam Wilson-Weir, who was the maximum points scorer in bronze category only last week. So we're heading into qualifying very shortly. It's going to be a big scuffle to get out of the pits and onto the track. It's quite a narrow exit from the pits, but drivers would be keen to get themselves in a good position on the track. Bling and that'll be the key, is getting themselves into those pockets of drivers where they get good slipstream around this track that is so dependent on high speeds. So they'll be working with their teams, and privateers will be looking to get into the packs to get slipstream off other drivers, of course. Now we'll catch up with the drivers very, very shortly on their outlaps. And as you can see here, Gaz Williams, one of the many hosts at NXTGEN Racing, out on the track on his own there. Not wasting any time, just getting straight out there. Now, what's going to be interesting to see is last time out at Misano, the Porsche probably was one of the better cars to drive because it is traditionally very good in the corners, and out of the corners is the Porsche. But I'm keen to see how that Mustang gets on today because I hear that it is pretty good down the straights. So we'll have to see how it gets on tonight. That might be an old wives' tale, I was told there in iRacing terms, but we'll find out. But the Mustang is one of the more popular cars chosen in this series. The Porsche is the most popular, but I'd say it's a tie between the Mustang and the McLaren when it comes to other most popular car. Heading out onto the track here, we can see is our championship leader, Łukasz Sidor. Very good opening round in the new Mission R team, and a new driver in himself. He was the breakthrough driver of the debutants last week. And heads down this back straight here. And we'll get an onboard lap. We traditionally do get an onboard lap at the first qualifying lap of said driver from the championship leader, which will be Łukasz once he gets around. And you'll see that technicality wise it's really nothing compared to Misano, which has its moments of nice fast sections, but it's certainly got the slower corners than that of here at Watkins Glen. This corner here being one of the slower corners on the track, but the next one will be the slowest, and this is the boot section at Watkins Glen. And we are heading towards the end of the lap, and we'll have the proper lap on board with Łukasz Sidor of this brilliant Watkins Glen track, and he's got the green Mustang just trying to get around him there, and he's backing off here. Now you see a lot of drivers do that in between turns 9 and 10 here to make sure that they get a good blast out of these corners and a good distance from other drivers to make sure they get the best slipstream. You can see his rival Ben McCluskey, his purple first sector, is a lot much further into the lap. In fact, is into a flying lap, but we've now got it. We're here with Łukasz Sidor as he starts his first flying lap here in qualifying at Watkins Glen. Into the 90, turn number 1, downhill braking into this right-hander, taking a little bit of the curb on the inside, but plenty of the off-road on the outside there because iRacing allows you to do so. Into the S's, a little dip here, and then up a steep hill here. Right, left, and then right, flat out as we head on to the back straights. Keeping it nice and tight to the inside, using minimal steering input to make sure that you're not scrubbing the tyres and scrubbing off speed. Up the straight we go, braking now as we go over the crest into the outer loop, downhill sweeping corner. Onto the power late, and Ben McCluskey goes to the top of the standings, being the first to set a valid lap time. Now into the chute for Łukasz Sidor here, keeping it nice and tight, hugging the apex all the way around the corner, flooring it, taking a bit of the outside curb. Now braking into the toe. A little far from the apex there, but you can get away with it on that corner. It's better to keep it a nice long sweeping corner rather than making sharp inputs with the steering wheel. Now into the heel, the slowest corner on the track. Third gear, not dropping down to second gear, and you can take plenty of off-road there. There is a BMW slowing just up ahead. That might bother Łukasz, but we'll see how he gets on. That's turn 9, one of the most difficult corners as it goes uphill around the corner. now into 2 very fast corners. The BMW getting out of the way of Łukasz there. Turn 10. Oh, and a crash up ahead. That has compromised the lap of Łukasz Sidor, and it means he's going to have to reset to the pits. And it was a teammate that crashed out as well. It might have been... I can't work out who it was actually, and the event hasn't turned up. But that was a potentially good lap. Ruined. No fault of Lucas's at all, of course. But it means he's going to have to go back out there, warm up his tyres again, and then set another lap. So that takes away the amount of laps that Łukasz can do, and we're already a quarter of the way through the session. But that was a big, big incident, and those are the corners, turns 10 and 11, where the car is going to be at its least stable, because you are right on the ragged edge of handling these cars through those fast corners, and you're just small inputs at the steering wheel to make sure it gets around those corners. And the one little bit of mistake, or one bit of track that you should not have taken, will end in disaster, as we saw there. It is worth mentioning at this point, actually, ladies and gentlemen, that we did have some issues with replays last week, and we're going to have the same issues again this week. So we're going to restrict ourselves from going to replays where we can. We're going to go to the crucial ones, obviously. But yeah, we have still got yet to get IT support on here to fix those the replays for us here. Apologies for that, but I'm sure we'll be able to make do. Now we're looking at the 2 next-gen drivers in the Mustangs. That's Ben McCluskey and Gaz Williams, first and third at the moment respectively. Not too far apart from one another as well, 0.27 apart. And we are still waiting. For Łukasz to do a flying lap. Of course, we saw the incident. Let's have a look at the other categories as well. Matthew Addy, fastest at the moment in the silvers, and he has got a big overall distance between him and Ian Manners. And the reason I mentioned overall times, we will be switching over to overall standings later on, but we are monitoring the category standings right now, because being pole in your category will still get you bonus points. 1 bonus point for the person pole in category, but the starting grid for the sprint race is the whole grid mixed. So it doesn't matter where you are in your category, it is your overall position that will decide where you start on the grid for the sprint race coming up in just a few moments' time. So we will eventually switch over to the overall standings, but we will monitor how people are getting on in their categories for now anyway. But it's a good start for Matthew Addy. He's 9th overall. And his closest rival in silvers is 16th, and that is Ian Manners. Whereas in the bronze category, in the pits at the moment, but Jonathan Berry is top of the standings in bronze category, and nearest rival is championship leader Adam Wilson-Weir, who is 4/10 of Jonathan Berry at the moment. Now, Wilson-Weir, we did interview last week, and he did actually say that Misano is a track he liked very much, and he prefers the more technical tracks, and this is a much less technical track, so we'll see how he gets on. So far it's okay. Second place is definitely nothing nothing to get upset about, but we'll see how this lap gets on here as he's heading towards the end of the lap. Here is a purple 4th sector from him across the line. Was 26th overall, jumps up to 16th overall, but stays 2nd in the standings, and was only behind Jonathan Berry by 15 thousandths of a second. That is really close, and it means that Wilson-Weir has area to improve and get himself top of the standings, whilst Jonathan Berry is in the pits still. Okay, so let's have a look for our championship leader somewhere around here on our standings. He's out on the track. Oh, and could this be? Yes, this will be the end of the flying lap here. So let's see how Łukasz gets on here. No time at the moment, so where will he jump to? A lot of drivers on their out lap, as you can see on our standings there. And there we go, championship leader straight to the top of the standings on his first completed flying lap. 33 hundredths of a second clear of Benjamin McCluskey, which is, well, it's not safe, it's got to be said, but it definitely throws down the gauntlet. Yeah, I am looking at the comments. Yes, thank you, John. You are, your job's to drive out there, not comment and chat to me, as much as I appreciate it. Get out there and do some laps. YouTube chat there. You can comment on these live streams on Facebook and YouTube to communicate with me, or just cheer on your favourite drivers and favourite teams. Please feel free to do so. The YouTube and Facebook algorithm really likes that. Okay, Matthew Addy across the line. It was an okay lap, but it did not improve. Stays just a bit clear of Ian Manners. And whilst there's only a 1/10 and a quarter between Matthew Addy and Ian Manners, actually position-wise, there's about 7 cars between Matthew Addy and Ian Manners on the grid. And that's how tight things can actually be at this track here at Watkins Glen, because your foot's to the floor for quite a lot of this track. And there's very minimal braking, actually. There's a lot of the pressing the throttle down gently to get yourself around the corner. Very throttle heavy track. Now Lucas is on another flyer here. Some very good sectors in the latter part of the lap here. Comes across the line. Doesn't go quicker, but it looked like an impressive lap from the Deltas. YouTube comments. Welcome Katie Eames, the regular to our comment section. Thank you for watching it again, Katie. Cheering on Danny Switzer, part of the Verano contingent, racing for Quatermass, I believe, this season. Okay, so let's keep an eye on silver drivers, particularly Jeffrey Kruger here, winner of the sprint race last week at Misano. And Matthew Cheverton, 11th at the moment in category, probably hasn't had a properly clean lap yet. He's 11th at the moment in category, 29th in the standings. And news in here, Jack Pittas was on his debut last week, racing for Quatermass, goes to 3rd overall and 3rd in category in the standings there. Brilliant lap from Jack. Put himself in front of Mike Barber, but alongside on the grid. And teammate Harry Langford just below in 5th position. Also of Quatermass, as I mentioned. Carlos Stayson had a feature race win last week. He did say he inherited it a little bit, but at the same time, you need those moments in motorsport, you do. But he held the lead, and he got it. That's what gets you championships and gets you points and gets you good results in championships and races. So 7th place for Ustason at the moment, our outgoing silver champion, but who will be the new silver champion this season, we have got to find out. There's 2 categories that can maintain their champions. Of course, Elwyn Sykes in bronze and McCluskey in the golds. But talking of silvers, straight to the top of the standings, eclipsing the good work that Matthew Addy had previously done. Jeffrey Kruger shoots to 7th in the overall standings and is 1st in category by a long way. Nearest is 15th in Matthew Addy. That's a brilliant lap from Jeffrey Kruger, ahead of the majority of his teams. In fact, he is the highest CSA driver. But just as we talk about that, into the top of the standings goes our defending gold champion, Ben McCluskey. Might feel a bit dented following last week, where he was really closely rivaled by Łukasz Sidor, but that shows, you know what, I'm still the king in the town here. And let's see how Sidor responds to that. There's only 300ths between them, which really isn't much. But like I said, on a track like this, margins can be tight. Let's go to gap on the standings here, just so you can see relative to the leader. Look at that, near 3rd place is near quarter of a second behind. It just shows that McCluskey and Sidor really are a class of their own, and they're going to be in tight contention this season. On an outlap right now is Łukasz Sidor, and it will mean he has a couple of laps to be able to respond to that time thrown down by Ben McCluskey. And we were just looking for Stephan Wessels there, who just crosses the line there. Will go to the top of the standings. Brilliant opening flying lap from Wessels. And he puts himself to the top of the standings by over a tenth clear from McCluskey. He was pole sitter last time out at Misano. Didn't have the luck that he needed in the feature race. And as a result, it's third in the championship heading into tonight. But it's definitely a case where Wessels is saying, you know what, I'm in this championship battle. Do not count me out. And that is the proof of it. Into fourth place goes Ben Altria. Full tilt Mustang driver. Good to see Full Tilt back with two drivers here, Jesse Payne-Wilkins and Ben Altria. That's a great time from the Mustang driver, putting himself into fourth. Still close in bronze category. Very, very, very close. Just 15 thousandths of a second between Jonathan Berry and Adam Wilson-Weir. Jonathan Berry in the Mission R team leading the way at the moment. Bit of traffic around in here, so this won't be the best of laps. That's Stephen de Crivelli getting out of the way there, kicking up some dirt onto the track to just help everyone out there. Ian Manners has just jumped up to 4th in category, 19th overall, following that lap's completion there. Kruger and Cheverton, the two championship leaders of silver, are in the pits right now, so they better get a wriggle on if they want to get another lap in the books here. It's a slightly longer lap than Misano, despite being generally faster and less technical. It's generally a longer lap by about 7 seconds. I love how fast they go along that back straight there. We'll have to find out how fast they're actually going very, very shortly. But into 4th in the silver category, and into the top 20 goes Nigel Stock. Didn't have a good opening round of the season last time out at Misano, but 4th place right here is a pretty good start. And look at this, Łukasz Sidor on purple sectors heading out of the final corner. Across the line he goes. Is this the pole lap? It's not. I think that final sector wasn't up to scratch because it was yellow on the Delta. We also have a new driver joining us tonight, a familiar driver in the next-gen world, but it is Lee Horn. He's new into the gold category, new into this championship for a fair few seasons, 19th at the moment, but welcome along Lee Horn, a very good friend of mine. I've hosted a league, a few leagues with him in the past, and done many races with him, so looking forward to seeing how he gets on tonight. Divert our attention to Stephan Wessels here, who will be on another flying lap here to try and best what he's done before. Maybe he can anticipate squeezing a time into the 141s here. That'll be some going. And there's a lot of drivers in the 142s here. It goes as far down as 26th place. They're all in the 42 second laps, or 142 shall I say. That's incredible. Gavin Gardner puts himself into 10th overall, 9th in category. He'll start on the same route as it stands as Jeffrey Kruger. Good jump in the standings there to get himself into good contention. Driving the NXTGEN Racing pink BMW. Okay, so not a great deal of movement. There are a couple of drivers on outlaps and a couple of drivers who've called it a session. Ben Altria, Jack Pittas and Jeffrey Kruger, leader of the silver category, has decided to call it on qualifying, but his rival, Matthew Cheverton, is still out there and giving it a good go. So we'll have to see if Cheverton really can give Kruger a big threat for pole position here. Kruger was pole sitter last time out at Misano, but as it stands, we'll have 2 repeat pole sitters. John Berry still holds pole position. There's a lot of traffic here. It's going to be tricky to negotiate, but as I mentioned, pole sitters into the 41s, and top of the standings goes Harry Langford, a race winner from last season at Nürburgring. A rookie to this series in reality, but first place in the standings there. Fantastic time. A 10th and a half clear of Stephan Wessels. with less than a minute to go in the session, that could be the one. Let's keep our eye on these drivers. Wessels is here, going into the boot section. Ben McCluskey is on the back straight, heading into the outer loop. Łukasz Sidor is towards the end of the boot section, so he'll be the first to cross the line. We'll keep an eye on him. Let's see where Matthew Cheverton is. He came across the line, and we'll do another lap. But that was not a quicker lap that he probably needed. Heading into turn 10 here, that is Łukasz Sidor in the orange, white and black Mission R McLaren Acura. Oh, looked a little bit out of shape heading out of the final corner there, getting very close to the wall still, and across the line. Oh, will not make it before the checker flag, so that'll be the final lap, and it was a slightly quicker lap from Łukasz Sidor, but stays fourth, does not go quicker. What about Ben McCluskey? He's on a purple first sector and green second and third. What about this fourth sector? Green. It's looking good for Ben McCluskey, but to the top of the standings is Stephan Wessels into the 141s. An almost exact time to Langford, just 4 thousandths of a second. But what about McCluskey? He comes across the line. Into the top he goes. Fantastic. And that's close as well. It's just 100th. Less than 100th. Between the top three there in gold. Fantastic qualifying session from them three. 4 including Sidor there. Fantastic end to the session there, where all of them were fighting and squabbling for that top position. Cheverton has gone into the pits, but going up to 5th in the standings at the last second there was Carl Oosthuizen, last week's feature race winner. Very impressive performance from the silver category champion. I don't think there are any or many drivers that are going to threaten pole position in any category now. In fact, all of them are going into the pits. Yep, I believe that is it. We have our pole sitters that are Ben McCluskey overall, and in the silver category claiming the bonus points will be Jeffrey Kruger and Jonathan Berry in the bronze category. Look at that though, 9 thousandths of a second between McCluskey, Wessels and Langford at the top of the standings. This could be a very, very close chess game-like race between these three and Sidor, and maybe even Oosthuizen, or maybe even Autria, and more. Oh, no. It's going to be a good one here. Don't take your eyes off. We're going straight into the sprint race here, ladies and gentlemen. 20-minute sprint race, and we're about to grid up for that. I'm going to have to take a quick sip of water here before we get on with this, because I sense that this might be a very busy race here. But the thing is with Watkins Glen here, what normally makes Watkins Glen so exciting is bump drafting, and that's what the NASCAR Cup Series do. That's what touring cars like to do here as well. In GT3 cars, less so. But we'll see how effective the slipstream can be on a track like this. We might see a lot of moves going into the outer loop, but we might see drivers choose to make those moves at other points on the track. We'll have to find out. But here is our grid for this opening race of the night. Front row is taken up by Ben McCluskey, number 1 on his door, number 1 on his grid slots. Stephan Wessels, last week's pole sitter, is just 500ths down in second place, and just 9 thousandths down from Ben McCluskey is Harry Langford in third place. Łukasz Sidor, our championship leader, in fourth position with Carl Oosthuizen in fifth, with Ben Autria alongside him. Mike Barber in 7th position with Gaz Williams, one of the hosts of this series, in 8th position. Jack Pittas in 9th with pole sitter of the Silvers, Jeffrey Kruger, in 10th. Gavin Gardner in 11th with Stephen Bird alongside in 12th. 13th is Martin Hobson with Andy Fox in the 14th position. Second place in the silver category, but 15th overall is Matthew Cheverton. Jamie Dory in 16th position. Sean Shute 17th, and alongside him on the 9th row is Matthew Addy, 3rd of the Silvers. Lee Horn, newcomer tonight, 19th for him, with Ian Manners alongside in 20th. Nigel Stock in 21st with the pole sitter of the bronze category, Jonathan Berry, in 22nd. 23rd is championship leader of the bronze category, however, Adam Wilson-Weir, with Jake Pitt in 24th. 25th is Paul Williams with Alan McCain in 26th. Stein Vatens in 27th with George Stone alongside. And on the 15th row is Alejandro Ulate, who couldn't race last week, but he's back tonight. Welcome back to him. And Jason Raff in 30th position. In 31st is Andy Chell with Wesley Peels in 32nd, with Mark Baker in 33rd and Aaron Hobson in 34th. Mark Sykes in 35th with Phil McDougall in 36th. Elwyn Sykes, bronze champion from last season, is 37th with Andy Rooney in 38th, Wesley Lewin in 39th and Lewis Mason 40th. Rob Savage 41st with Joppy Siemens in 42nd, Stephen de Gravelia in 43rd and Gabriel Papaconstantino in 44th. Simon Hunt 45th with Sammy Ariba in 46th, Danny Switzer in 47th with Davide Favo alongside in 48th. And we have got Gabriel Yilmaz in 49th, 50th is Charlie Yopson-Wood, and at the back of the grid is Matt Gatter and Ben Bennyworth. So there we go, we made it through the grid. Oh dear, that wasn't a good sign, but we'll be getting away very, very shortly with this race, hopefully. Drivers are lined up between the heel and turn 9, which means it's a very short run to the start of this race. And remember, it's a 20-minute race. We'll see no scheduled pit stops in this race. As you can see here, it's a 20-minute race, and we'll have a 1-hour feature race coming up just after this one, after a break, and just after this one. And the results of this race for each category will decide the grid for the feature race later on. And we're getting underway now. The pace car moves away, and McCluskey will lead our drivers around, ready to start this race. Now, the starting procedure here at NXTGEN Racing is that the drivers must maintain their speed from the safety car heading into the pits until the lights go out. And the marshal lifts the green flag, of course. And failure to do so will lead to trouble with the stewards. This is to maintain formation and maintain a fair race procedure start. But we're about to get under the way. They're just feet away from the start line, and away they go. And it looks like a pretty good start, actually, from Stephan Wessels, keeping it alongside Ben McCluskey as we head down into turn number 1. Łukasz Sidor very late on the brakes as they head in there, and the top bunch get through turn number 1 relatively safely as McCluskey is now nipped in front of Wessels. They head through the S's. Up the hill we go, and we hope to see them get through this section safe and sound as they're heading on to the back straight here. Oh, we do have an incident. That's Stein Vatens, a retirement from the feature race last week, and it looks like an incident here as well. Oh, we have got an incident further back as well, as iRacing has decided to not register a lot of it. Oh, there are drivers in the middle of the track as well, further back there. It has not gone well for a lot of these drivers, as there are a couple at the back who are out of sequence now. But back at the front, McCluskey leads from Wessels. Sidor in third has overtaken Harry Langford for that position, and Carl Ustason is right behind the Quatermass driver, guarding off from Ben Altria as well. Let's see if Ustason will make a move going into the heel. He will not. He was looking to the inside, but I think that was just so he could see the corner approaching whilst under braking. Big incident on the back straight there. Now we will go back to that as a replay at the end of the race to see exactly what happened to Vatens and then the chain reaction that happened after that. But lap 1 so far pretty good from Benjamin McCluskey here. There's the view behind, Stephan Wessels behind, and Łukasz Sidor, who has a good opening lap here into third place for the championship leader. Leader of the Silvers at the moment is Jeffrey Kruger in first place, in between a lot of gold drivers there. It's got a nice cushion, safe gap to Matthew Cheverton in 14th overall here, and he's got Matthew Addy just behind here in 3rd position. Leader of the bronze category is Jonathan Berry here in the Michelin R car, and he has got a lot of drivers between himself and Andy Chell here, who's having a battle with Wesley Peels, who's in the silver category, but just behind Andy Chell here is Stephen Gravelia. So it's a good breakthrough lap here for the 2 bronze category drivers here, as I think a lot of the bronze category drivers that are back here got caught up in the earlier incident, and of course they would have seen it all happening in front of them and would have had to ease off the throttle and potentially put on the brakes to avoid the incidents and get around. Elwin Sykes keen to get himself close and resume championship defending status. Back to the golds. We just saw an overtake there. Well, we didn't see it, we saw it on the timing screen between Oosthuizen and Langford, but also challenging is Oucher on the inside of Langford. We also have Wessels and Sidor swapping places here and swapping paint by the looks of it. A little bit of contact heading through the heel, but Wessels has the inside line for this corner here. Sidor got to the inside at the heel, but wasn't able to finish the move off heading out of the corner. This will allow McCluskey to blast away and open up a gap. That's what he'll want. Oh, and there's a spin back there. Oosthuizen comes off the track, hits Gaz Williams. Williams is into the wall, and I think other drivers might have got collected as well. But Oosthuizen took a half spin there, and I think a lot of drivers might have got half collected there. There's some that have gone away with that. Kruger is through into 5th now, and Stephen Bird has gained 6 places from the start, and he's now 6th. Brilliant from him, but I think Ben Altria, as a result, has lost some positions. But it looks to me like he has got a bit of damage on the front of that car, but might have gotten away with it in that he's still in the race here. And that's what I was saying earlier on. The cars are on such tender hooks here. They're on very sensitive setups, and it means that any input is a big input, and too much of that could cause the car to go sideways. Equally, there might have been contact. We'll have to find out after the race here, where we can go to the replays. Langford holds on to 4th position here, but it's a bit of a gap now to the top 3. This is Kruger right behind. This is a driver in silver category, remember. And it means that there's a lot of cars between him and Cheverton, but it doesn't mean more points. Your points are based on where you finish in your category. As we see a move to the inside from Stephen Bird, not able to get late enough on the brakes. It's quite a short braking zone, despite it being quite a sharp and slow corner relative to the rest. It's actually quite a short braking zone for that corner, the heel. Back to the bronze category here. Jonathan Berry still leads and has got a fair few cars between himself and Andy Chell, still in 2nd position here. We've also got Stephen Gravelia has fallen behind Andy Chell a little bit and is going to be contended for that position potentially soon. From Danny Switzer, taking a little bit of an off track there, heading out of turn number 9, but gets away with it. He'll be hunting down 3rd place here. Silver category, 2nd position, Matthew Cheverton keeping up with the gold drivers here. The top 10 of the gold are right in front of him. He's got a little bit of a gap, comfy to Matthew Addy at the moment, who, although didn't win any races last week, is 3rd in the championship heading into tonight and is 3rd right now. So stamping his place on that top 3 spot in the championship. And side by side again between Wessels and Sidor. Sidor's got the outside as we head into the chute, but the inside line's definitely better there. That's the thing with Watkins Glen. If you can hold the inside line for the corner coming up, or even the next corner, you often keep your position and defend your position very well as a result. We'll go to the group standings now so we can monitor where drivers are in their categories, as that is how drivers are scored on points. And there's a big crocodile of cars following Harry Langford here, right behind Jeffrey Kruger actually. Now Kruger, welcome to the gold zone here, Jeffrey, as this is what it's going to be like. And who knows, it's not necessarily a case that if you win the championship in your category you are unconditionally promoted. It doesn't quite work that way, because Erwin Sykes is still in the bronze category. but Kruger is showing that he's got the pace to contend not only at the top of silver category, but potentially in the crop of this gold category as well. John Berry with a very good start to the night here. Now, championship leader heading into tonight, Adam Wilson-Weir, is down here in 17th in class. So I got the feeling that Adam Wilson-Weir was involved in that lap 1 incident, which we'll check out later on. Stephen de Gravelli, who was 3rd place, has dropped down a lot of places. Now, I've got an event on the standings here that says he's had an incident. We'll see if we can mark that up later. And there seems to be a bit of damage on the front of that BMW as well. So he's dropped out of the top 3. And that relinquishes it to Danny Switzer in Verano colours, racing for Quatermass this season. On his debut tonight, Lee Horn in 11th place in category, but 14th on the road. Hunting down Matthew Addy here. Good strong performance so far for the debutant tonight. Now back to the gold category. McCluskey's not running away with it. Now there's a bit of traffic ahead of him. I think that's Jake Pitt just up ahead and Martin Hobson. So that might be holding him up. There's a bit of dirt on the track as well, which won't be helping either. But if Wessels can get his foot down, he might be able to close in on the top spot driver. Now, other thing to keep an eye on as well in this series is fastest laps, because fastest lap gets you a bonus point. Now, in the silver and bronze category, the fastest lap holders are outside of the top 8. So they're drivers who have fallen down the order and are making their time back. But in the gold category, Łukasz Sidor, who is getting a big slipstream here from Stephan Wessels, and that'll be helping him, and that'll be a lot of what that fast lap comes down to, and had to get on the brakes a little bit harder there just to avoid the rear of Stephan Wessels. As we head into the chute, he's going to be looking at all ways to try and get by Wessels when it comes closer to the end of the race. And that was actually not a great corner there from Sidor. He drops off the back of Wessels a little bit. We have got a battle here between Switzer and Papa Constantino, who looked to the inside going into the outer loop, but wasn't able to make it. This is the battle for the podium spots. We'll have to keep an eye on second and third in gold category still, because they're quite close together still. But Papa Constantino in a new car this season. I think it was last season he was driving the Lamborghini. But Cypriot and British driver racing for Aztec Racing again this season, but in the Ford Mustang. Oh, Andy Fox. Oh, Andy Fox has had an issue here, limping. I think he's hit the wall, and he's dropped down a few places. That's Sean Shute passing by, and that'll be a heavily damaged suspension on that car, and we'll have to limp it back to the pits. That's Nigel Stock trying to get past right behind him there, as well as Ian Manners. Stock will be flashing the lights potentially to say, get out the way, you've got a damaged car and I'm still in the race here. But Andy Fox must feel that he might be able to carry on here. Otherwise, drivers do get a fast repair available to them. If they come into the pits, they will be allowed to take an immediate magical repair that just allows them to continue their race. They get 1 in the sprint race, 2 in the feature race, and 3 in the endurances to use at their disposal if they need to. It seems Andy Fox is okay at the moment. It looked like the car was limping quite a bit heading out of the final corner previously, but he seems to have got it back in shape somehow here, and will presumably carry on. That is, unless the pit crew will call him in with the meatball flag, which is a black flag with the orange disc. That is to signal you have a mechanical failure that's non-compliant with safety. You must head into the pits to repair it and or retire from the race. So, not much response in the last few laps from Wessels on McCluskey now. It's based on qualifying. It is super close between these three in qualifying. Well, it was super close between these three in qualifying, on the four really, if you include Langford, who held pole position for quite a bit of that qualifying session. But to catch up with your rivals on a track like this, with close margins like what we saw in qualifying, it's going to be very difficult for Wessels to close in on McCluskey, who hopes he doesn't have any back markers holding him up here. They're politely getting out of the way, and there is a battle further up ahead as well. That's between Paul Williams and Hobson, and that's what McCluskey will be hoping, is that no incidents happen that will potentially hold him up. That's what he's going to be conscious of right now. He's got the race in his hands, and if he can sew this up, it'll be an opening win of the season. Checking in on other drivers, Andy Chell still second in the bronze category, and he's missing a little bit of bodywork from the front of that car there. I just wonder if there was a little bit of contact that he might have had at the start of the race. In fact, it might have, yeah. But it seems to be not affecting him position-wise anyway. He's 9 seconds off Jonathan Berry, who seems to be bringing it home for a win right now, as it stands. But Andy Chell has got to hang on, as Danny Switzer will be closing in. He's broken away from Gabriel Papaconstantino here. And Danny Switzer won the most races of any bronze category driver last season. Worth mentioning, but he was probably what you would consider a part-timer. If he'd done the whole season, who knows what could have happened. Now we have got side-by-side between Łukasz Sidor and Stephan Wessels. Just to the inside goes Sidor, and Wessels can do nothing but concede that brilliantly executed move from the Polish driver of Mission R. Into second place he goes, and now he can set his sights on Ben McCluskey. But between him and McCluskey, there's a lot of traffic, and Wessels actually didn't have a good exit from turn number 1, as he has dropped back a little bit of time from Sidor, and not too far behind is Harry Langford. Clear of Stephen Bird just behind, and will set his sights on that top 3 with just a quarter of the session to go here. 5.5 minutes as of now to go in this session. Kruger still leading the silvers, and he's right behind Ben Altria. He's got Jack Pittas and Gavin Gardner just behind. Just off the gap there is Jamie Durian. He's got right behind him second place in the silvers, so it's not too far of a gap between Kruger and Cheverton at the moment, but there's a lot of cars between them. This is akin to what we saw last season from McCluskey. Clinical victories, not sweating from the pressure. Actually right now is clear of the majority of back markers, so we'll have one less thing to worry about. Langford getting around one here. That was one of the Hobsons. I think it was Aaron Hobson. He was getting by there, getting out of the way on the main straight there. Many battles for position on the track for the more notable podium positions, as the closest battle for a podium spot is between Sidor and Wessels, and Wessels has dropped off a little bit ever since being overtaken at turn 1. He just wasn't able to carry the momentum and stay close behind Sidor, and it's going to be tough for him to close that back in. But now some back markers out of the way, he can focus on trying to catch up with Sidor. Kruger here looks good for a silver win in this sprint race. With not much time left, about 3 laps to go if my maths are correct. And usually they're not. But just 2-second gap to Cheverton, but there are 3 cars between himself and Cheverton here in the Cyan Mustang there. Turquoise or Cyan, one or the other. tucked in behind Jamie Dory. And what I was talking about earlier with the Mustang being a very popular car also is fairly popular at this point in the grid anyway, is the BMW, also a long wheelbase chassis, which seems to be the more favoured layout of the car in the GT3s right now on iRacing. Of course, the shorter wheelbase cars are like the Ferrari and the Acura and the Lamborghini. They're probably a little more nimble and will be able to get around the corners much easier, but there'll be a better balance front to back and side to side with the longer wheelbase cars. But Jamie Dory did have a mistake heading out of turn number 1 there, and that allows Cheverton alongside, and Cheverton's got a little bit of slipstream ahead of him as well. As you can see, the car's up ahead. That'll be helping him along, and Jamie Dory might be a sitting duck here, although he's still alongside, and actually Cheverton couldn't get it past Jamie Dory on the straight there. So what I was trying to predict earlier, well, I wasn't trying to predict, I was trying to anticipate maybe there would be a lot of dives heading into the outer loop, and actually it's proving difficult for the drivers to overtake at the outer loop, because the cars are getting to a very high speed and there's not much headroom for the top speed on that back straight. We'll be starting the final lap very shortly. This will be the lap of which McCluskey sees the white flag to signal the final lap of this race. Like I said, a very clinical drive, but actually in the last few laps Sidor has been putting in some very good laps. On the last lap, half a second quicker than McCluskey, but to be fair to McCluskey, he doesn't need to push to the maximum right now. He can just bring it home safe and sound. And Kruger, well, I don't think Kruger can let off so much. I mean, Cheverton's dropped off a little bit with his battling with Jamie Dory, but Kruger, if others get their elbows out with him, that might put him into the clutches of Cheverton even on this final lap, so he's got to be wary of that. And after the race, ladies and gentlemen, we will look at some replays. We are able to look at replays, we just can't go back to live pictures quite easily tonight. Oh, look at that. Gavin Gardner looking all around, but to the inside goes Jack Pittas. Oh, a little bit out of shape from Kruger there, and Gardner's going to try to the inside of Kruger, but couldn't quite make it, and that's what I was talking about. If Kruger gets elbows out too much, it will slow him down, put him into the clutches of Cheverton, but that is not going to bother Kruger right here, as he's okay right now and still in the same position category-wise that he was before. But Pittas means he can try and catch up to Altria late in this race and try and mount a charge for 6th position. But there's not many corners left to do so. And the top 3 here, the top 4 here will settle for their positions. And with the number 1 on his door, we'll see the checkered flag as number 1 in the race for the first time this season. McCluskey wins the sprint race here at Watkins Glen for the gold category, and for the silver category and 8th overall, a brilliant performance from Jeffrey Kruger, repeating last week's sprint race win with a sprint race win tonight. And Jonathan Berry, first win of the season, the 2nd bronze driver to win a race this season as well, crosses the line in 18th overall as well, a long way clear of nearest rivals in the bronze category that are Andy Chell, who just about hangs on from Danny Switzer in 3rd position. Very, very interesting race, it's got to be said. We did see a few incidents as well that we'll need to check on. We're going to check on Carlos Stayson. He may have received contact, what I'm gathering, and that put him and Gaz Williams basically out of the race. And there was of course the incident on lap 1 heading out of the S's, and we have also got Stephen Gravelia's incident to check on as well. to see how he dropped out of the top 3. And then once all drivers are complete here, which they haven't yet, but once all drivers are complete, we're going to go to the results of this opening sprint race of the night. But your winners, to preview that now, are Ben McCluskey in gold category, Jeffrey Kruger in silver category, and Jonathan Berry in bronze category. And without further ado, here are the results of the gold category. Provisional, pending stewards' reviews, of course, after the races. But Ben McCluskey takes the win by just over a second from Łukasz Sidor. Stephan Wessels in the 3rd position there, with Harry Langford in 4th. Stephen Bird rounding up the top 5. Ben Altry in 6th, followed by Jack Pittas. Gavin Gardner in 8th place, with Jamie Dury and his teammate Lee Horn in 10th position. Sean Shute in 11th, with Andy Fox in 12th. He had an incident earlier on in the race, so drops down to 12th. And of course we saw Gaz Williams and Carlos Stayson going off at turn 10. They're in 13th and 14th, but finished on the lead lap. Likewise with Mike Barber down in 15th. A lap or more down are Martin Hobson, Jake Pitt and Ben Bennyworth. Silver category, and it is a category win for Jeffrey Kruger. Although the time doesn't say much about that win, there was quite a lot of cars between Kruger and Cheverton at the end there for 2nd place for Cheverton. Matthew Addy in 3rd position, with Nigel Stock, his best result of the season so far, in 4th position, and Ian Manners in 5th place. Mark Baker 6th, with Alejandro Yolate on his first race of the season in 7th. Wesley Peels in 8th, followed by George Stone and Yoppie Siemens rounding out the top 10. Phil McDougall in 11th, with Alan McCain in 12th and Lewis Mason 13th. A lap or more down were Paul Williams, Jason Raff and Aaron Hobson. Bronze category, Jonathan Berry takes the win by 15.3 seconds, a very commanding win, and sets up what could be a very good performance in the feature race later on tonight. Andy Chell with his best result of the season in 2nd position, with Danny Switzer in 3rd, Gabriel Papaconstantino in 4th position, with Elwin Sykes 5th. Robert Savage 6th, with Mark Sykes in 7th and Davide Favo in 8th. Andy Rooney 9th, with Stephen de Gravelia, drama for him in the mid part of the race, 10th for him in the end. Wesley Lou in 11th, with Charlie Yopson Wood in 12th and Sammy Ariba in 13th. Adam Wilson-Weir, championship leader heading into tonight, got caught up in the lap 1 incident. It's 14th for him. Simon Hunt in 15th and Gabriel Yilmaz in 16th. A lap or more down were Matt Gatter and Stein Vatens. So there we go. That is the results, and we're going to go back to the replays of that opening lap. Now, it started with a crash from Stein Vatens, but I think it was a little chain reaction following that. But we'll see what happened to Stein Vatens. Oh, it was contact, and it was contact with a Quatermass driver, what I can tell of the livery there. Now, what I'm going to do is go back to that. I'm going to go quarter speed there. I'm just going to stop and see who the driver is there. Okay, that's not going to work that way. Okay, I'm not quite sure. Let's get in a little bit closer so we can see who the other driver is. It's the 05 car. A little bit of contact from the rear, and that's Andy Chell. Andy Chell ended up finishing in 2nd position. Now let's get another look at that, and let's go quarter speed again. Now Stein Vatens turning into the corner. Just about on the inside there is Andy Chell, and on the curb, and you can see as he's getting off the curb, it understeers towards the car of Stein Vatens. So it's one for the stewards, definitely. And then some, yeah, there is an incident further up ahead. In fact, there's 3 incidents up ahead, to which leads on from this incident, and that's when our connection decides to have a little bit of a clonk out. let's see what other ones there were. Right, let's see if I can find another. That was Mike Barber going backwards into the wall there. I didn't actually see how that happened, so. Okay, so this is on board with Phil McDougall. Now the incident happens up ahead, and there is a little bit of a concertina there, but up ahead is where more drama has happened. Now it's a little hard to identify where that is from my data here. Now we have got Jason Raff here that might be able to help us here if we go with Jason Raff. Let's go to full time for the moment. Okay, so they just about avoid it. It is a little bit further ahead between 3 cars there. There's a Mission R car involved there. And I think that might be... I think that might be Jake Pitts, you know. Yes, it is. So let's get back to the earlier replay. Let's get with Jake Pitts. So this is Jake Pitts' view of it right in the middle of our screen there. Oh, there's a car that's out of shape right in front, and that is spinning, and it spins right in front of Jake Pitt. It's the number 4 car. Yeah, and that's it. It's just Adam Wilson-Weir it was. Okay, let's take a look from Wilson-Weir's. Yeah, it just gets out of shape. So that's Nigel Stock going a little bit slow on the outside/inside of that corner there, and I think Wilson-Weir was just trying to get around, but the car just lost its way. Oh, and that causes all sorts of mayhem here. So that will be that. So let's move on to another. The next incident that was Gaz Williams and Carl Ustason. Now let me see if I can find that incident in our events list here. Okay. It did look like from our point of view you had damage, Andy, but yeah, not to worry. Right, we are going to get to that incident. I think I have found it between Ustason and Gaz Williams. So this is Ustason we're watching here. Oh, there we go. Okay, we'll get another shot of that. It just... And this is the onboard. So right in front of us is Łukasz Sidor, who went on to finish second in this race, heading through the corner. I don't think... Yeah, it's just... I don't think Carl expected Łukasz to break that early. I think that's literally what it was. But it causes Gaz Williams to go off. I think there was another car that went off as well. But that was pretty much game over for their races. Now, this is Stephen de Grevelia's incident. He was third. Oh, the car just loses shape and the front end hits the wall there. It just lost shape heading out of the corner. It just spun the wheels too much and sent it round. There we go. Right, do we have any other incidents? I don't think we do. Yeah, I think, yeah, we're good for instance now. So we will go to the results yet again, and then we'll go for a break, ready for the feature race, which won't be far away, actually, ladies and gentlemen. But Ben McCluskey, Łukasz Sidor and Stephan Wessels are your top 3 of the gold category from the sprint race. Jeffrey Kruger, Matthew Cheverton and Matthew Addy, top 3 of the silver category. And in bronze category, Jonathan Berry with the win, Andy Chell in second and Danny Switzer in third. And remember, these categories will form, these results of these categories will form the starting grid for the feature race, but the categories will be reversed. So the winner will start at the back of the category in the next race. That'll be coming up in just a few moments' time, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
Hello and welcome to NXTGEN Racing, the home of clean and fair sim racing for all.
Good evening everybody and welcome back to the Glen for what is round 2 of the NXTGEN Racing GT3 League Season 7. We've got a nice 10 round calendar ahead of us, and the series is in its 7th installation as we mentioned, and this is Thursday night racing at NXTGEN Racing. There are other leagues available in NXTGEN, including a Legends League coming up and the NXTGEN Touring Car Championship, which will be starting in late April. I think sign-ups are still open for that, and if you scan the QR code on the lower left of our screen here, you can get involved in our Discord community here at NXTGEN Racing, and that will allow you communication with the admins and the drivers, and allow you access for the entry forms for the championships, including this one. The pricing's in the top right. All leagues hosted by NXTGEN Racing are paid for entry. But in these leagues, what makes NXTGEN Racing so special and stand out from the rest is the fact there are plenty of categories available to allow all skills and competencies in racing to compete. The gold category in this series, for example, typically consists of the top drivers on iRacing. And in the middle silver tier are the middle tier drivers in this league, and the bronze category are for drivers that are less experienced than the other drivers in the league. All skills are welcome. Anybody is welcome to take part as long as you have an iRacing subscription, and you can get involved in the races. That's all it takes. This is the calendar we are seeing for this season. We started off last week in Italy at the Misano World Circuit. We're here today at Watkins Glen in New York State. We're heading over the border to Canada next week for the first of 3 endurance rounds of the season. It will be a 2-hour singular endurance race, no qualifying, as the grid will be set based on the championship standings of each category reversed. So it's just a singular 2-hour race next week at Montreal, the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, which of course hosts the Canadian Grand Prix every year in the Formula 1. 2 weeks from today we'll be back to the sprint race and feature race format, for which we have raced today and last week, and that will be at the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit, which is one of my favourite tracks to drive of all time, so I'm looking forward to that one. Of course, I'm commentating, not driving, but it's still going to be fun. Circuit Zandvoort in the Netherlands will host round 5 of the championship, and it's the new and improved layout on iRacing that will host round 5 of the championship here on iRacing. We go down under for round 6 after the halfway break, and it is the Mount Panorama Bathurst circuit in Australia that will host the second of 3 endurance rounds of the season. Algarve International, aka Portimao in southern Portugal, the holiday region, will host round 7 of the championship, and we're back to Britain for round 8 of the championship at Silverstone, and we're back in Canada for round 9 of the championship at the Canadian Tire Motorsports circuit. And then, where else is the season going to end? It will end at Le Mans for the final round of the championship, a 2-hour endurance to end it all, and crown our champions in late May. Just 2 months away from season end, but we're here in the now, and this is the second round of the season. We had a couple of drivers who, missed out on points in that opening race. We saw quite a few drivers fall foul of the incidents early on in that race, but they've got this race to redeem themselves and make up points. We saw drivers do that last time out at Misano. Take Carl Oosthuizen, who coincidentally had an incident in that sprint race we saw earlier today, but he had similar in the last race at Misano, and he came back in the feature race to win it. And he's 4th in the championship heading into tonight as a result. So anything can happen. Anything really can happen in these races. It's a 1-hour feature race, and it will require at least 1 pit stop from the drivers. And of course, getting onto pit lane at this track is actually quite tricky. Because you're going around the final corner, and it is a nice tight entrance to the pits from there, and you've got to be careful of drivers behind you, and you've got to be careful of drivers in front of you if you're not heading into the pits. You've got to be wary of drivers heading into the pits, so communication is key. So here we go, we're going to grid up for the start of this race. And starting at the front is the gold category in their group, and it will be Jake Pitt on pole position for the gold category, with Martin Hobson alongside in second position. Second row is taken up by Mike Barber and last week's feature race winner Kyle Oosthuizen. One of the hosts, Gaz Williams, 5th position on the grid, with Andy Fox in 6th position. Sean Shute in 7th with Lee Horn in 8th, and Jamie Dory 9th with Gavin Gardner in 10th. Jake Pittas is in 11th with Ben Altria in the 12th position. In 13th is Stephen Bird and Harry Langford alongside on the 7th row. Stephan Wessels, Łukasz Sidor and Ben McCluskey